Going to Alan Watt of CuttingTheMatrix.com. First off, I haven't talked to you since we got you a copy of it when the guys came to interview you a few months ago in Canada. What's your take on Fall of the Republic, Alan?
It's having a great impact. It's all over the planet now. And I get emails from so many people saying they've seen it. And it's hitting them between the eyes, some of them, which is a darn good thing because we've no time to lose here in catching up. We've got to be shocked into reality, and I think it helps to do that.
What do you think of the film yourself? I mean, I want your honest review.
Oh, it's well done. It's well done. I mean, even the camera guys, when they were here doing the take, they knew their stuff as well. Everything was well on. And I don't know who did the editing and so on, but they certainly made a good job of patching all the different pieces together to make it flow and keep the topics flowing so that people who didn't know too much could get an understanding and take them right through it in a condensed form. And that's what we have to do today because we cannot give a complete lifetime's education to people in a fast move except by condensing it for them and giving them important parts and really stressing how it's done and where it is going if they don't participate in their own future.
Yeah, I mean, we're showing people, here's the globalist agenda, here's their own documents, here's their own statements. Do you want this for yourself and your future? Do you want to be a slave who is eventually euthanized? The decision is up to you. One of the few criticisms I've gotten for Fall of the Republic is, well, I already knew a lot of this, or this has a lot of basics in it. Yes, that's the whole point of the Obama deception in Fall of the Republic, is to be slickly done, well-produced, highest-level graphics, and it has a lot of new information as well. But, yes, it gives people the basics because we're trying to reach people who have no idea of what's going on.
And plus, when you get people together who know with people who don't know, rather than just go over stuff through books and weekly meetings, if you've all shared the same video, you can then discuss it yourself and chip in. It's a good way to catch up quickly to speed as to what's happening. You could have something in common and something you've all either seen or read in common, and that's how it's done today. We don't have time to give a history for the last 100-odd years. We don't have time. So you have to condense it, put in the important parts so that beginners can understand and bring them up to speed so they can then converse with you with the knowledge that you're sharing.
And then once they have a basic blueprint of just part of the system, it's too complex to give somebody the full view. I mean, I'm still learning every day. It's so big and complex, and they've had so many specialists working for so long on different parts of this matrix system. But once people have a basic snapshot, a basic crash course in brain surgery, then they can start picking up the other rabbit trails and larger gestalts for themselves as their palate develops.
That's correct. You understand that we're up against organization. Organization has been working steadily for well over 100 years with non-governmental organizations who are trained in a school-type format, gradually updated with their vision of the future. As I say, they're organized, they're funded. Some of them are full-time employees, in fact, to get salaries from the big foundations and pension funds. That's what we're up against, massive organization. We have to do it with what we have, and we have to do it very quickly.
Good job, Alan. Stay there. I have a report here of where a boy drew an image of Jesus and was kicked out of school and is having a psychological assessment done. In fact, show PrisonPlanet.tv viewers an image of this. I mean, we really are living in a secret police-style tyranny. The RAND Corporation is already announcing that all your local police departments are openly federalized. Regular Army garrisons will be stationed as domestic police, as a rapid reaction force to take over local police departments. That's in this RAND Corporation report. So much is going on. Go over that, Alan Watt, and then your take on what's happening at Copenhagen. Is their program really in deep trouble?
Well, we find that the U.S. is the last country to be basically completely socialized. This is the socialist system. It's already completely through Europe, especially Britain. Britain's an incredible country right now, where back in the 80s, in fact, they federalized. At least they put a chief police Association in charge of all of the police across Britain, and supposedly they were going to use martial law back in the 80s if Britain had to be sacrificed for first nuclear strikes in order for the U.S. to survive. So it's never got out of that mode. They made it easier for the federalized government to take over. And this is a socialized system. I tell people so often, don't get confused with fascism, communism, socialism. It's all the same thing, you see. And that's what's being used today. A long time ago, it was decided by the big powers and the economists and those who ruled the banking system of the world, along with the politicians and the Fabian Society, that they'd have to bring in a socialist system and train the public, train them gradually to allow the experts at top to simply handle all the big problems while we were taught to play at the bottom. That's been very successful since mainly from the 60s onwards. And so we're out of the loop. Most folk are quite content.
That's right. They made it a moral right, like it's cool that men and women don't care and aren't involved. Yes. It's uncool to be involved. It's fun to be an idiot.
That's correct. And while we're all being idiots and playing and they threw credit cards at everyone, and they gave us a youth culture, a perpetual youth culture where anyone over a certain age is just non-existent. They did not want older, wiser people coming into the game and teaching people what was really going on by their knowledge and history, etc. That's been very, very successful.
Yeah, you don't revere your elders. They're just people to be exterminated. And now Time and Newsweek have articles about, let's just murder all the old people. It's so liberal.
That's correct. And that is coming down. They started off in Holland with euthanasia. Britain has just passed laws on it too. The U.S., I think, did their first main one this year, in fact, earlier this year, openly. And so that's the agenda. This is all written again, going back to the days of H.G. Wells and the utopians, the Fabians, and also population control is a ramp up abortion and sterilization on one end, which is coming down, by the way, as part of the Copenhagen Treaty. Then they ramp up the other side too. Obama's already made the communist statement, and that's what it is, folks. You're under that system right now if you don't know it. Look at all the people who are in his staff right now. Many of them are card-carrying communists. And they're true believers in this world Fabian system of socialism. We're experts.
But just like the media told us communism didn't exist after 1991, yep. They tell us no New World Order exists, even as they announce it, even as I was reading 2 weeks ago in a Mercantile report that the #1 shirts are hammer and sickle shirts.
That's correct. And a lot of the U.S. teenagers are wearing them, thinking it's all cool and trendy. And we've got to remember, too, that back in the 50s, remember, the Reed Commission, authorized by the U.S. Congress and the Senate, did investigations into the tax-free foundations, the big Rockefellers, Ford, Carnegie, all the other ones there, who were funding what appeared to be to them all the far-left communist groups. And Senator Norman Dodd, and he's up on YouTube talking about this, he was astonished when he was told by the CEO of the Ford Foundation that their job of the foundation was to fund NGOs and so on. So it changed society and culture within the Western world, and especially in America, that it eventually blended seamlessly with that of the Soviet system. That has happened. That has happened. And they're going now to the next step, because in Marxian economics, they must have everything centralized under world government. That's what the United Nations was established to become, with the IMF there at the top, the World Bank, and all the rest of it.
Alan, to interrupt, from your study, how does Russia tie in? Because Russia is paying people to have kids now, because they've lost 45 million people thanks to the global agenda. They're talking about the New World Order on their television. I mean, is Russia going rogue from the New World Order, or bidding for a better position in the New World Order?
A better position, but however, too, you understand, too, when the Bolshevik Revolution took over Russia, the Bolsheviks were comprised of non-Russians primarily, who moved into the Soviet Union, and they ran the entire Soviet Union right through the Soviet era.
It was mainly people from Brooklyn came over and ran it, and they got kicked out, and then now they're the neocons, yeah.
And that's correct as well. And after the wall came down, and prior to it, many of them moved out. Many of them went to Israel. A lot of them moved into California, Toronto, and other places to continue the agenda of the merger over here. Now, Gorbachev himself, who, remember, was the president of the Soviet Union, who was taken round the world on a world tour by Margaret Thatcher by her arm in arm, and she introduced him to the world as a new type of communist. So they'd already chosen him to lead the Soviet Union as it brought down the walls. And we've got to go back to Lenin. Lenin said the dictatorship would last about 70 or 80 years.
Then perestroika.
Then it was to merge into the West, where the new system would emerge, not quite capitalist, not quite communist. It's the socialist Fabian system worldwide, run by experts, eugenicists, all the guys on top, a planned society, a planned population, and that's what's happening right now as we live. We're watching the people appointed on Obama's system. We know who they all are. They've got tremendous histories of involvement in this communistic technique.